Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. Project Icarus. It began as an ordinary morning at Westbrook Academy, a sprawling campus nestled miles outside the city, known more for its rigorous academics than for any hint of adventure. The students shuffled through the halls, clutching textbooks and smartphones, their faces painted with the dulled expressions of routine. Among them was Alex Harper, an 18-year-old senior with a curious mind and an insatiable appetite for exploration, though generally kept confined to the classroom or the library. That day, Alex had felt restless. There was something about the late autumn air that stirred a yearning for discovery, an itch to dig deeper beneath the polished exterior of the school's mundane halls. Westbrook had stood for decades, its reputation built upon academics, but rumor had it that beneath the institution's polished classrooms and manicured lawns lay secrets long buried, projects washed under the waves of time and forgotten by administrative cleanups. Curiosity was an itch Alex could never quite scratch. It was what pulled him away from his usual route to biology class and toward the old basement storeroom, a place everyone else avoided, citing nothing more than maintenance, off-limits, and a vague sense of danger. The doorway leading to the basement was behind the old gym, partially concealed by a stack of unused athletic equipment. It bore a rusted lock hanging freely, as though it had been fished out from an ocean of forgotten things. Alex hesitated briefly, his breath catching in his throat. But he remembered the words of Mrs. Reed, his science teacher: "In every closed door lies the chance for enlightenment." He pushed it open. The stairwell smelled of dust and old machinery. Peeling paint clung to the walls, and the dim fluorescent bulbs flickered weakly overhead as he descended. At the bottom, the corridor stretched into darkness, interrupted only by faint, strange hums echoing from deeper within. Following the sound, Alex found himself entering a cavernous chamber with high ceilings, lined on every wall with panels of spliced wiring, glowing digital readouts, and control consoles that looked decades ahead of the school's normal technology. At the center was an immense device, a sprawling metallic structure composed of concentric rings, bristling with sensors, cables, and strange crystalline cores pulsing with light. The room was alive with soft mechanical breaths, as if it were a sleeping giant. His heart hammered in excitement and terror. A plaque on the console's panel caught his eye. It read, "Project Icarus, Prototype Orbital Launch System, Confidential." The words burned with secrecy. The idea of a prototype orbital launch system, deep beneath a high school was absurd, hilarious even, unless it was true. And judging by all these displays, it was. Moving closer to a touchscreen interface, Alex's untrained fingers began to explore, flicking toggles and sliders, trying to make sense of the cryptic UI. Without fully understanding, a soft chime sounded. A sequence of numbers began to tick down on the main console: 1500, 1459, 1458. Suddenly, the floor beneath him trembled. Warning sirens echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed overhead with a relentless urgency. The system, his accidental meddling, had engaged the countdown. Alex's blood turned to ice as alarms blared throughout the school. He stumbled back, pounding the console with frantic desperation. But the controls had already locked into a sequence. The launch was inevitable. Faster than thought possible, the wall panels flickered and a digital voice echoed, initiating Project Icarus. Beginning orbital ascent in 10 seconds. The building shook violently. The world outside seemed to tilt as the entire academy began a surreal transformation, its foundations disengaging from the earth. From his vantage in the underground lab, Alex could hear the groan of enormous engine-like devices. Then a deep, roaring vibration as the school itself lifted off with the force of a rocket. Rushing upstairs through swirling corridors now transformed into something of a space vessel rather than a school, Alex burst out into the daylight just in time to see the parking lots shrinking beneath a glass dome that now sealed the campus. The school was no longer tethered to the ground. It was ascending into Earth's orbit, an impossibility realized. Within moments, the campus had become a floating microcosm, an orbital school with its crumbling brick walls and familiar classrooms suspended in space, a beacon of humanity's hidden scientific ambition and folly. Down in the quad, students and teachers alike gaped skyward in disbelief, the atmosphere buzzing with shock, fear, and disbelief. Most were frozen, struggling to comprehend the impossible truth. Westbrook Academy was launching itself into the void. Yet the boarding gates sealed shut. Gravity inside the school was, comfortingly, normal, though subtle shifts told them that the environment outside was no longer earthly. Sometime during the ascent, the gravity system compensated, mimicking Earth's pull, but none knew who was in control. Panic rippled quickly, and then chaos. The principal's voice over the intercom was strained, nearly breaking. "This is Principal Daniels. Please remain calm. We are in the process of stabilizing the school. Do not attempt to leave the campus. Teachers, please maintain order. We are contacting Mission Control now." But there was no answer. The phone lines and internet feeds all crackled with noise or silence. Alex's mind raced. How could the school possess technology capable of orbital launch? Who built Project Icarus? The system was decades ahead of the rest of what he'd seen before. Were there people controlling it? Had it ever been used before? If they were truly isolated in orbit, what next? Desperately, Alex looked for clues and found a nearby laptop, its screen lit by the glow of schematics showing orbital trajectories and system statuses. A file was open, labeled, Westbrook Academy, Project Icarus, Operational Manual. Skimming through it, Alex realized the full magnitude. Decades earlier, in an era of secret Cold War technological arms race, Westbrook Academy had been covertly used as a front for a secret governmental project codenamed Icarus. The plan was to develop a rapid response mobile orbital facility, camouflaged as a school, capable of reaching low orbit in moments and functioning as a monitoring station, even a potential weapon headquarters in case of nuclear or extraterrestrial threats. The project was abandoned after a catastrophic test incident, rumored to have caused mysterious disappearances on campus at the time. Knowledge was then buried, the room converted into a mere storage area, and records sealed. Now, that long-forgotten experiment had come alive again with a single accidental command. Despite the uncertainty, Alex knew one thing: survival depended on understanding the systems. He set to work, aided by a handful of tech-savvy students, all seeking to avoid panic and solve the mystery quickly. Using the control panel, they accessed navigation logs. The school was currently in low Earth orbit, speed roughly 28,000 kilometers an hour. The orbital path took them over the Atlantic, passing over Europe and then the United States again in about an hour and a half. But there was a dire problem: oxygen and power reserves were limited. The life support systems could only run autonomously for about 72 hours before requiring external resupply. And communication arrays were down. No signals could be sent or received. They had no idea how long the school would remain in orbit. Meanwhile, inside classrooms, normal school routines collapsed. Fear transformed into unease and then cooperation. After initial panic, teachers and students began organizing discussion groups, attempting to understand and support one another. The science wing turned into a command center. The history class became a morale space, recounting stories of exploration and resilience. Alex, once a solitary figure lost in books, suddenly found himself as the reluctant leader in a historical moment few could comprehend. One of the physics teachers, Ms. Cho, who had studied mechanics and orbital dynamics on a professional level before teaching, explained the basics to stunned students during an emergency assembly. "Think of this school as a spaceship now," she said, pointing to a digital projection of Earth rotating below. "We have everything we need, power, air, water, for now. But our priority is stabilizing our orbit, conserving energy, and trying to contact those on the ground." That night, the hum of life support machines and the mechanical heartbeat of unseen engines replaced the usual bird songs of the old campus. Morbid questions whispered. Would this floating school be their coffin? Or the beginning of something new? As hours passed, the students grew accustomed to their orbiting life. Meals were distributed from the cafeteria's storage, and parents' frantic calls to the school's landline went unanswered. Anxiety and silence only deepened the mystery for the outside world, which must have noticed the sudden disappearance of Westbrook Academy. Desperate for communication, Alex led a small team down to the experimental chamber. Among the consoles, he discovered a hidden terminal connected to a satellite relay station above Earth. Frantically, he tried rebooting the systems, engaging antennas and diagnostic commands stolen from the vague instructions. After tense minutes, flickering screens revealed a signal. A hesitant voice came through the crackling static. "Westbrook Academy? This is the U.S. Space Surveillance Command. You are detected in a low Earth orbit. What is your status?" Relief washed over Alex as he answered, "We are your students and teachers. The school launched into orbit by accident. We need assistance." The response was immediate but clinical. "Understood. We are coordinating recovery options. Stand by for instructions." The message had sparked hope outside, but for the inhabitants of Project Icarus, their fragile sanctuary just began to quake under a new threat. Hours later, a violent tremor rocked the floating school as external sensors indicated a malfunction in the propulsion system powering orbital adjustments. Energy overloads caused panels to spark violently, sending the school lurching within its tether to Earth's gravity. Alex and his team rushed to the control chamber, attempting to stabilize the thrust, but sparks erupted around them, and the building seemed to shudder with an animal's first rage. The orbit decayed, and atmospheric drag would eventually pull them into danger if not corrected. Time compressed into a desperate race against physics. Using theoretical knowledge gleaned from Ms. Cho's lessons and the schematics, Alex assembled the team to manually operate the thrusters from the central control ring. Sweat poured as they coordinated power redirection and monitored external telemetry. Each correction adjusted their descent, slowing their orbital decay. Externally, ground control channels coordinated with satellite systems to send rescue missions and satellite docking crafts to attach supplies and prepare for de-orbit assistance. But complications grew darker. Deep within the control room, overlooked during the initial panic, Alex stumbled upon logs indicating a failsafe. The Icarus system incorporated a self-destruct sequence to prevent technology from falling into enemy hands. And it was already active, a timer counting down silently. The desperation grew. They had no time. Exploring the ancient computer, Alex and a genius coder named Mira determined the self-destruct could only be disabled by entering an encrypted biometric override. The system required a fingerprint and retinal scan from the original Project Icarus lead engineer, long dead, or so it seemed. They needed to find that person. Piecing through yearbooks and faded government files hidden within the school's archives, they identified Dr. Evelyn Sabin, the clandestine genius behind Project Icarus, who later disappeared into obscurity. A retired, elderly woman reportedly living a quiet life in a city 200 miles away. Ordinarily unreachable, but perhaps their last hope. While ground control prepared emergency supplies and de-orbit protocols, Alex organized a daring plan. A small team would descend and locate Dr. Sabin, explain the crisis, and retrieve the necessary biometric codes. But with no means of traditional travel from orbit and the entire school suspended in a microgravity environment, how could they reach Earth? The old launch platform, designed for the inverse operation of ascent, remained inaccessible, sealed tight within the school's bowels. Analyzing the schematics further, they found an emergency escape pod concealed beneath the gymnasium floor. Sealed in a sturdy capsule, it was designed to safely detach from the school and land on Earth as a last resort evacuation method for personnel. After preparations, Alex, Mira, and 2 other volunteers entered the pod, fastened themselves into restraints, and aligned the manual launch system. Through the viewport, the ever-changing blue and white marble of Earth filled their vision, blurring into a spinning swirl below. The pod shook violently as the emergency thrusters fired. A deafening roar eclipsed the quiet tension, and in moments, the capsule hurtled downward, friction burning the atmosphere in a fiery blaze. Heat shields glowed red and orange, temperatures rising to terrifying heights. Then, with a sudden jolt and a splash, the pod deployed airbags before crashing into the coastal waters near Dr. Sabin's town. Drenched, exhausted, and gasping for air, the team emerged from the capsule onto a nearly deserted shoreline. Amid the strange, quiet world of September dusk, they sprinted toward civilization. Dr. Sabin's home was an old, weathered brick building surrounded by wind-twisted trees. Alex knocked anxiously, heart-pounding. After some moments, the door creaked open to reveal the frail but alert face of Evelyn Sabin, her pale eyes sharpening at the sight of the soaked strangers. "What do you want from me?" she asked, skepticism flickering beneath her age. Explaining the impossible event, the launch into orbit, and the ticking self-destruct, Alex pleaded, "Dr. Sabin, you're the only one who can save them. The people on board that school are our friends, our teachers, and classmates. Without you, they may all perish." Her expression softened. Years of buried guilt and forgotten hope surfaced. "I built Project Icarus to protect humanity," she said quietly. "But I never intended for this to happen again." Navigating to a secure console in her study, Dr. Sabin inputted biometric data into a long-forgotten laptop synced to the system's encrypted frequency. After tense moments, a green indicator flickered. The fail-safe is disarmed. Back at the school, Alex and his friends aboard monitored the system as the self-destruct warning vanished. An audible sigh seemed to echo through the control panels. The rescue mission kicked into high gear as ground teams prepared the school's controlled de-orbit sequence, guiding their homecoming like shepherds directing an ancient vessel through treacherous seas. Over the next 12 hours, thousands around the world tracked the descent of Westbrook Academy on radar and telescopic feeds. News coverage exploded, the story transforming from a surreal anecdote into a global event. Inside the school, students and teachers gathered in the spherical auditorium to watch the Earth grow larger outside panoramic windows as they returned home. Alex stood with Ms. Cho and the others, their faces uplifted with cautious hope and the profound weight of survival. Through the atmosphere, heat flooded the outer shell of the school. Protective layers engaged as emergency wings and landing thrusters deployed. Technology once intended for weaponized orbital defense now gently cradled the school back toward the ground. The impact wasn't silent. With an earth-shattering boom and shaking foundations, Westbrook Academy's orbit ended in a rural field dozens of miles from its starting point, yet mostly intact. Emergency responders descended, medical teams rushing to aid students and staff. The story of an accidental student-activated mission became a legend overnight, an event which revealed hidden histories and the perilous fruits of unchecked ambitions. In the following weeks, government agencies arrived bearing inspectors and covert operatives, eager to suppress the story or recruit the surviving students and staff for classified research. But Alex, ever the curious mind, refused to let the tale be buried again. Instead, he stood before the world's media, sharing the truth of Project Icarus and the brave collective that had kept the school in the sky alive. We lived, learned, and survived not just in classrooms, but above the world itself, he said. Our school showed us the power and danger of the unknown, and the strength found in unity facing the infinite frontier. The experience transformed Westbrook Academy into more than an institution of education. It became a symbol, an inspiration for younger generations dreaming beyond the sky, toward the stars. And Alex Harper, once a mere student wandering dusty halls, had become a pioneer in a new era of exploration. One born from accident, curiosity, and unyielding hope. For more stories, like and subscribe.